Hey, Dom.
Oh yeah.
How's life been for you?
Um, it's been quite sort of mixed, right? Um, yeah, there's been quite a bit going on. Um, yeah, I'm just noticing I'm feeling I've got a bit of anxiety this morning, but I call it anxiety. I've tension. I've got a blood test this morning, so I'm fasting, so I have a just had water this morning. I noticed that if I don't have a coffee in the morning, the sort of slightly negative head that I wake up with sort of seems to persist a bit. Um, and I was feeling quite sort of like almost blissful in the body, like calm. Hey Jack. Um, but then, yeah, a couple of thoughts are coming in and a couple of things to maybe do in the day, and it's just I noticed this kicked off this little bit of anxiety. Um, and there's been some slightly interesting things happen during the week. I went to see my mother um, the end of last week. Um, and I've been doing this little project where I've been recording conversations with each of my parents about the time when we were in Nigeria as kids. Well, I was like 3, 4 years old, and that's when their marriage kind of broke up. And it's quite an interesting story because he was like a working class kid, and she was a bit older from a much more sort of middle class uh, family. She was much more kind of worldly, but But as he was growing up and he suddenly found himself with 4 kids at the age of 27, he was kind of feeling trapped. And, there was this sort of melting pot of all this kind of stuff going on. Plus, there was a coup and a civil war and, all this stuff. So I spoke to him about it a few weeks ago and I'll speak to her about it. And just because I find it fascinating what was going on, the
Mm.
dynamics of it, and, the sort of sorry, it's going to be a bit of a ramble.
It's all
Um,
right.
uh, you know, his father went off to the war, and he lived through the Blitz with his mum. And then when his father came back, they didn't get on at all, and he felt very rejected by his father, so he never felt good enough. So he obviously took that into the marriage, and she had this whole story of being this much younger child in a family of six and really doted on by the family and then sent to boarding school and feeling abandoned and all this kind of stuff. So she had that story going on. And you could see, it's quite easy to see how these two
Yeah.
stories that were playing out as they sort of, anyway, um, she got very emotional at one point because of what happened, when the family came home because he announced that he was leaving, and then she kind of couldn't believe it. And then when they came home, he took all the money out of their joint account that they'd been saving over the couple of years, and she still really finds that um, upsetting because of what it did to the family. And obviously, it was sort of quite a bit of emotional energy there, and like being with her when she's going through that. And then the next morning, I was really angry and like I was angry at her for like not being over it, and I was just confused and angry. And I realized it just kicked off all those old. feelings that I must have been feeling around all of that. Because I was about 4 years old at the time. Um, so yeah, I mean, that settled down, and then she wanted to talk more about how sort of kind of horrible he had been to her, and I was sort of like, I wanted her to sort of be at peace with it and understand, like, be able to understand where he was coming from, and you know what I mean. There was a frustration that it's not resolved in her, sort of thing, and I could see all of that sort of happening. I mean, I guess luckily, because of the work I've done, I could kind of see those stories kicking off, and I can see what's happening in my body, and they don't have as much purchase as they once would,
Mm.
but they're pretty powerful still.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that was, I was knackered to that.
Mm.
And I went to see my wife in a play that she's in over the weekend, and I just got back yesterday. Um, so yeah, it's been a bit of an emotional time.
Mm. Mm. So you said you saw these thoughts turn up and that kind of rocked your equilibrium a little bit and took you into this what you call anxiety state.
That's this morning, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Did What was your relationship to the thoughts when you saw them turn up? Were you consumed by the content? Were you well? How did you react to those thoughts? I mean, obviously, you're saying you reacted with this. I want to put it in quotes, anxiety. Let's just call it that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll give you two examples. One is a memory popped up. So I was sort of feeling very quite peaceful and just noticing how my body was feeling. And a memory popped up from, oh, I can't even think how long ago. It's over 10 years ago, whereby um, there's something that happened in this business relationship I had with somebody where I felt like there was, you know, um,
Unfairness.
unfairness. Yeah, and then we're talking about very large amounts of money and, sort of um, very sort of charged kind of situation. I don't want to go into boring you with the
Yeah, you don't
story,
need to
but
go into details. So you saw that
um,
that thought turn up, and it immediately consumed you by the sound of it.
well, it wasn't like I noticed it kind of pinched, and it was like it was a feeling of like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done X, and that felt like a sort of pinching in the sort of gut. Um, I was, I mean, that story's played so many times that I'm kind of,
Mm.
I can see it, I can see what's happening, but it did, yeah, it had an effect on me.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like there's two stories there, really. Obviously there's always more than one story, but nevertheless. So there was the story of the situation, and then there was a story that pinched you, the story that came along that said, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, that's the one that's underneath. That's like, yeah, I was an idiot for accepting a situation in a certain way.
Mm, mm. So it was the content of the story that grabbed hold of you. You weren't
Mm.
you weren't cognizant at the time of having a relationship to that story. You were just immediately sucked into what it was about.
Yeah, that flash was definitely, I
Mm.
was just
Yeah, I mean,
there,
of course, this can happen in an instant, can't it? I mean, you couldn't
Mm.
even measure the time when it happens like that.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
right.
and when you said I shouldn't have done that, it's not even that. That's the second story, but really the underlying story is something about you
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
goes back. It's not even in that situation. It's
Well, you know, it's interesting that, sorry to jump in, but
yeah.
the story the story of my father basically taking all the money and depriving us is the same story.
Hmm. Only this
The
time it
same,
happened to you.
only this time it happened to me. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, it happened to you the first time too, but in a different way. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that it's the same story.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. Because if you were to if you were let's play a game of a fantasy game where you come up with a phrase that describes that characteristic of Dom. What would that phrase be?
a characteristic that meant that I allowed that to sort of happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sort of something like naive or stupid or something like that, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a big difference between naive and stupid, though, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to find. Naive sounds too,
Naive is lets you off the hook a bit too much,
yeah, exactly.
and guilty prosecutes you a bit too much.
Um,
Stupid, I mean, stupid is guilty, isn't it? Yeah, it's that.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Um,
So somewhere in between there is a belief about Dom.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
And
don't think that belief is fixed, you know. It's sort of like it comes up.
absolutely. Now you don't have to. That does no. There is no requirement that that is an active belief. When these things get triggered, it's that they were still sitting there as potential until they got triggered, and that's only
Yeah,
when they get triggered that you can see that it doesn't apply, and that dissolves it.
yeah.
But I didn't see much dissolving, did it?
Oh no, no, I wouldn't say that. I'd say the sort of flavor of it is still there. Um, it pinches. I can sort of go, oh, I know that's a story, and
Yeah,
overall,
yeah, yeah.
I
But
don't
that's
think
pretty
it's true.
intellectual, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's a tricky one to look for. I mean, let's not even worry about finding an exact phrase or word that somewhere in between naive and stupid, but it's the recognition that is still something that is active for you.
Mm, yeah, it must be.
I mean, you can look at it intellectually and easily see that there is no blame. It's something that happened, and the consequences of it happening are what you've got to live with. But the reason for it is outside of your control. That's the way you've been conditioned. That's the way you've been conditioned, or
Yeah.
that's, yeah. But it's the judgment that goes
Yeah.
on to that unseen thing that keeps it alive as well, isn't it? I know even the idea that even if it is still alive, who's in control of it to change it?
Mm. To change the fact that the story is still active.
Yeah, that belief has still got a foothold.
Mm.
So really, the only reasonable, I would even go as far as to say, the only adaptive response to it is, isn't that interesting?
Mm.
That opens an invitation that might or might not reveal more about it at some point. You see, it gets a very tricky area. I mean, that the way we see ourselves is such a big deal, that you don't want to see yourself as a bad person. You don't want to, get lost in the idea that you're wonderful either. There is
Mm.
all these judgments about who I am, but they all rest on a fantasy, don't they? And that's the hard bit to come to terms with. The fact that they are simply characteristics in a storybook that get activated from time to time.
Yeah.
It's even quite reasonable to say that without doubt, both of those stories that you told me that point to the area where this exists, you've learned from. You would, were the similar situation to arise again, you would very likely be more aware of what's going on and respond differently. Maybe not, maybe you'd still get lost in it, but very good chance that you would have learned from those experiences. You don't know until it turns up again, do you?
Yeah.
Can you feel a feeling of holding on to something, holding on to an idea about what kind of person you are?
There's a sort of something that drifts across the mind is this idea that I have to be strong or something to protect, something like that.
Mm, mm. Okay, so part of the judgment would have been that that happened to you in your one because you were weak,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
right? And maybe it was your mum that was weak in the original scenario that you described. Maybe that's
Mm.
some of that anger about her getting over it is really anger about her allowing it to happen. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's true. Yeah,
Mm,
because there's more detail about what happened afterwards.
yeah.
Um, yes, yes, that's very strong. That's very strong. The weak thing is very strong. Um, weak thing is strong. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's like, but that's part of what my sort of this kind of rage that came up on the Friday morning after the Thursday night was about. Why can't she be stronger? You know, I
Mm.
suppose. I suppose, which is
Which, of course, comes back to why can't Dom be stronger?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm.
And so that isn't an interesting invitation is pretty directly pointed at looking at the details. of what that is. What does it mean to be stronger? What is being stronger? What is being weak? Etc. Just look, not coming to a judgment, not coming to any final conclusion about it, just looking at different aspects of it. And in almost all cases, you're going to recognize that you have no control over any of that. And you can even see how you were trained, conditioned to see yourself that way. It doesn't mean whether you, it's not, we're not even getting close to whether you are or not that way, but you
Yeah.
see yourself that way.
Mm.
That's the big one, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So of course the last thing we want is for you to try and compensate for something like that in a gross aggressive way by being dominant and pushy and all of those other things in order to prove to yourself that you're not weak. That's just ridiculous, that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm sure it's happens a lot though.
So we're left with this open inquiry
Mm.
that might or might not reveal stuff about it. And if we circle right back, what aspect of this fits in with that morning anxiety?
Well, what comes to mind is this idea of kind of coping.
Right. So do strong people drink coffee?
Um, well, I guess the flip side of that is like, do weak people feel anxiety when they don't drink coffee?
Well put. Yes. Yeah. And of course, again, the moment you even begin to look at it, you straight away see that a projection into the future is just that. It's
Mm.
what's going to turn up. Anxiety is always about the future, isn't it? Concern about what might happen or what might not happen. Same thing.
Yeah, I've just basically, there's another thing that happened this morning was I've got a friend who I was very close to for a while, and then for reasons that I'm not quite clear about, we sort of we've mm, not had contact for, and I feel like there's something that's happened that I don't know about or something. Anyway, a few days ago he came to mind, so I thought, I'll reach out to him. So I reached out to him, and anyway, he messaged me this morning to say, see if I was around for a coffee today. Um, and I feel very one of the issues that I've had with that particular friend is that I feel very judged somehow. Um, I'm sure it's projection, but it's that, oh, there's
Yeah,
ideas that I'm being
sure.
judged.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's hard.
yeah. And there's interesting dynamics involved in that too, isn't there? Like the judger would be seen to be the strong one, and the judgee would seem to be the weak one. And maybe that's the relationship that's developed there that is
Mm.
uh, is being looked at and questioned. Who knows? Yeah, yeah. Interesting stuff. Very interesting. Uh, so, do you see that? Do you? Well, is it true to say that there is there is a level of anxiety about what the outcome of that might be after you get
Yeah,
together and talk? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
definitely. It's not just a straightforward thing. It feels loaded.
Mm. But it was interesting that you reached out to him,
Mm.
maybe to resolve something, maybe to
Yeah.
who
Well,
knows
actually,
what. Yeah.
um, he came to mind actually during that mushroom trip. He was one of the things that came to mind during that mushroom ceremony I had, whenever that was, 10 days ago. And he was in that journey at some point quite strongly, and just as a, yeah, as an unresolved thing, and also just a sort of memory of some quite good friendship we had, but that seems to be lost
Mm,
for reasons that are not clear.
mm. Have you imagined yourself being really direct and blunt and asking what happened?
I have imagined that, yeah. I guess my anxiety is whether or not how I'll take it, if depending on what he comes
Well,
up with.
if he tells you you're at fault, that's the reason because you're an arsehole or something. Mm.
Yeah, basically.
Do you have you are you aware of recognizing that whatever he tells you, he's talking about himself, not about you?
Mm, mm,
So even if he says, well, yeah, that's because you were dot, 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 he's really saying that's because I thought you were, I perceived you as dot, dot, dot. Not, there's nothing to say that his opinion is accurate or complete, although it might be, you
yeah,
don't, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
These things usually do happen out of miscommunication of some kind.
yeah.
Oh, well, it'll be very interesting to see what happens in what, a couple of hours, eh?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Another question comes to mind, and I don't expect an answer, but maybe I'll get one, maybe not, is can you see what's underneath this project with your mum and your dad? Obviously, they're telling you their version of, or what the way they remember it, each one. And so none of them are going to be giving you a, a clinical, clean, accurate depiction of what actually happened. They're all going to be biased in their own direction. But somehow it's you picking at a scab of some kind, isn't it? Can you see what's behind that? Or maybe it's just purely of interest. You know, it is a very interesting situation. The time was interesting. The circumstances were interesting. Maybe it's something deeper.
I suppose I don't think I'm so much looking for answers. I think maybe once I would have, when I was younger or something. And I know that they're completely, they remember things very differently. Um, it is a really interesting time. It's a really interesting, because of the context of them. him losing his faith and things like that, which I find really interesting. While she was very religious, and um, I do, I do worry whether I'm stirring things up or I'm picking at a scab or whatever. I think some of it is about just
Oh, I lost your sound there.
place. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like being sort of sort of understanding what that experience might have been like or something.
mm. Yeah, and I get that that's one of the reasons why you make movies, and that's that there's a creative thing in there that hooks into this as being worthwhile retelling somehow.
Mm. I don't know if it'd be interesting for anybody else yet, you know.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. Well, thanks, Tom. That's good stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The experiment continues.
Yeah. Thank you.
Did you get anything out of that, Jack?
Kind of emotional for some reason, even though I was half distracted. Um, Here's what I'm gonna bring up. There's this. I think. Let's see. There's like a buzzing, or right now it's kind of a soft flow. Sometimes it's a stronger flow, sometimes it's a really harsh buzzing, but it has followed me for months now. And I don't know if it's important at all. Could be as simple as like blood circulating, but it changes a lot. And like it's when I'm really anxious, I notice it's pretty strong sometimes. One time I woke up from a dream, a pretty potent dream, and it was like kind of an overwhelming flow almost, like a vast thing. But yeah, so I'm just kind of curious about it because it hasn't gone away. I don't know if it doesn't need to go away because I've seen enough times that it's like it comes up in good or bad circumstances, or maybe pleasant, unpleasant. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So is there a pretty strong curiosity about what's actually going on?
that's weird. Is I'm less curious about it for some reason, which that makes I'm almost more curious about that, like the fact that I'm
Yeah,
less
yeah,
curious about it.
yeah.
More, it's more like I'm like, why is it there? There's some feeling of like I can manipulate it, so I do like I mess with it. Sometimes I try to. Sometimes it's almost like making it go away. Sometimes it's like, how can I let this expand? It's hard to say, but
Hmm,
yeah, it's interesting. It's a little curious.
hmm. Is it there when you're not aware of it?
How would I know?
Good
So
answer. Yeah, exactly. You can't know. So, all right.
yeah,
Partly what I'm pointing to here is that it has a different existence when you're focused on it.
yeah.
And then it can
Um,
just be in the background, or then you can be totally unaware of it. All of those can happen in and out. Yeah.
I want to say it maybe like spikes when I try to put attention into it. Because you're right, like it kind of like fades out and then it's kind of soft. And then if I play with it, it's fine. But if I'm like trying to screw with it, it's like, oh, don't do that. It's like a it's like a jolt almost. Not quite like a shock, but like a
Mm.
squeezing feeling. Yeah.
So that gives me the impression to check out that if you try and stop it, it comes back with some aggression. It comes up
Hmm.
with some aggression. Would that be accurate?
I think so. Or like not even stop it, but like sometimes if I try to interfere with it,
Yeah, yeah.
or I'm maybe brash or like hasty, um, like it's kind of in my feet right now. It's very soft. The word is alive comes up.
Yep. So where does the word separate fit in? If is it like if you try and interfere with it, it seems to take on a independent existence to a degree and push back. Is that accurate?
S- Um, so first I would say yes, kind of separate. Like I don't see it as me, but it's
Right.
responsive to me. Like
Hmm.
push and pull on each other, I would say, is like,
Okay. So what about this
um,
question?
yeah.
Is there, do you get the impression at all that it's trying to tell you something?
No, not really. Maybe just to like leave it alone.
So that it's
Hmm.
showing you that you can't or shouldn't, I'm not sure which one, interfere with it. Is it its response to being interfered with? So it's not giving you that message unless you interfere or attempt to interfere with it.
Could say that. Here's one thing I noticed is when you asked me that, I noticed I do have a kind of urge to not leave it alone, or like my attention wants to stay in it in a way that feels kind of icky or like weird stuff.
What just
Like
happened?
it's just changing. Like you asked me, or right when I just said weird stuff, or previously. Um, it's just weird. It moves and it changes, and sometimes it's more like it's me, and sometimes it's very separate or impersonal feeling, and I get the feeling it's settling a little bit.
So putting this focus on it affects it somehow.
Somehow. I mean, it's not like I haven't given it attention before. Like,
Mm.
this type of stuff is kind of all I think about.
So it sounds like you're fairly relaxed in your interest in it.
Yeah, yeah. That's fair. Here's one I kind of wanted your feedback on, maybe. Uh, is I read a cool quote that I really liked that it was, you should let your life become a question and just let that question deepen. And it kind of struck me. I was like, ooh, I wonder what the question would be. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a question itself. And that just kind of spiraled and spiraled and spiraled. There's no, well, I don't know what to say about the question.
Mm. Mm.
But it gave me a really good feeling that day. And
Yeah,
the weird
yeah.
one was it forced me to, at first was like, it made me kind of accept some not knowing. And then I got a weird feeling like of knowing in like a pretty solid way that I never really felt before. I don't really know knowing of what.
Mm.
Um, but since then, some of the doubt has like just kind of weirdly gone away. Not all of it, but like it's been like when I look at stuff, it's more clear what to look at or what to get out of it sometimes. Um,
Excellent. Yeah.
yeah. But I really, what I really, I was really just interested in the question part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since then, it's like there's other questions have come up. Like Adashanti was like on a YouTube video, it was like, "What is this all about for you? Like, why are you really here doing all this?" And I was like, "I don't really know. That's kind of interesting." Um, and like not really looking for answers because like I don't even know what the question is. But
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. I mean, when you first brought it up, I went, yeah, I get that. I really agree with that. And then you said about what the question is, and I went, oh, what the question is, right? It was a non-issue
mm,
what the question was. A
yeah,
question isn't a question, but rather a questioning attitude. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's a very tricky area to try and communicate something. So I've said things like, the experience here is that I have no more questions, in as much as I have no particular interest in other people's opinions about what life is about or what's going on or anything like that. So there are no questions in that way, and there is an embracing of not knowing, but that persistent questioning attitude, that openness that comes from, I wonder what, without expecting an answer. Yeah.
yeah,
And another one that's really, really weird, that's you've got to be careful with because of the invitation to see it as arrogance, is I feel like I know everything I need to know. But that includes that I don't know a whole lot of stuff, but I've got Google or AI
yeah.
or whatever. I
I
can find
resonate with
out.
that. It's like I
Yeah.
definitely feel like there's so much more to learn, but also that I'll be able to tackle it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
and like I'm definitely still learning and like watching YouTube
Sure. Yeah,
videos
me
and
too. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
But you know what? So there's another kind of unspoken one here too, and that is that this is this is significant in that it's a characteristic that comes with waking up. It's not, until we wake up, we could never even consider this as a possibility. So that's also significant. So I'll send the badge to you in the mail. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. And it's interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. More will be revealed or not. Who knows?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It's where life becomes a koan.
yeah. I get
Yeah.
that. Or it just seems like too open to resolve, or
Mm.
maybe the
Thank you,
last
Jack.
question is like, or could I? Sorry,
Yeah,
or can
go,
I
go.
ask you?
Yeah, yeah.
Is I've still never really gotten why awake people, are so focused on the five senses. Like, sometimes I'm like randomly like, oh, isn't it really amazing that I can see anything, or seeing is kind of cool, or I'll hear a cool sound, but nothing like it's almost like an obsession of like, put your focus in the five senses, never waver. Like, I think all the time,
Yeah.
for better
Well,
or worse.
the
Like,
easy answer to that one is that awake people themselves are probably not focused on the five senses. I'm certainly not. Um, but that's a quote teaching mechanism. That's a way for people to break out of the cage of concept land that their belief in thoughts generated for them. So it's just a way out. That's all. Now, it seems
okay,
like an obsession, but it's not. I can't imagine.
no, I don't think they're. It's a yeah. I guess I was just wondering if I was missing something from it. Like,
No, it's a bridge. That's all. Yeah.
okay, well, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
you.
Jack.
Yeah.
How have you been, Shah?
Um, yeah, it's a mixed bag. I I mean, in this moment, today and the past few days, I've been struggling with becoming aware of how much I think about myself. There's a lot of me.
Excuse me. I love that one. Thank you. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I still have, so much memory about life being effortless, where, it was flowing, and, there was not this so I have some guests coming over tomorrow, and most of them have visited a few months ago. And so there was a lot of comparison going on between how I was while I was prepping the home the previous time and now. So I noticed that this time around, I'm being house proud. I want it clean because I want them to think I am a good homemaker. And I remember the previous time they were visiting, my focus was on making them comfortable, for them to have a pleasant experience. And I can see so much of me happening this time around. And there is a tightness around that that's uncomfortable. Um, there's also
So,
the sense of slipping back and going backwards. So yeah, I'm struggling with a little bit of that today.
yeah. You can't go backwards anyway. Let me put it that way.
Yeah,
It just
yeah,
seems like that. Okay, yeah. So is there a judgment about
yeah,
this seemingly self-centeredness that's going on?
yeah. There is a judgment about the vanity that I can see. The
Oh,
vanity of, ooh, I need to have a shiny home, so they think uh, I keep a home well. So there's vanity there, and so I'm judging myself about that. It's like, no, I'm not a vain person. That's not a good thing to be,
mm,
So that's the meing I'm doing,
mm,
which is uncomfortable.
mm.
I'm glad I can see it.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't see
Um,
it, you wouldn't be uncomfortable with it, probably. You would see it as a good
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah. So I see it as a good thing. Um, but I'm uncomfortable also with the fact that, so what? Can I just be and see this avatar also, you know, this vain, house
Mm,
proud
mm.
Shaheen, Why not? Let her
That,
be.
that one attracts a better judgment, eh?
Yeah, but there's a judgment about it.
Mm,
It's like, no, 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 not allowed to be vain, you know?
mm. Are you, have you considered the detail of the word vain? What is being vain? So when you look at a job just done, let's say you just polished the table, as just as an example, if you're saying the table looks good, that's one thing. If you're saying I did a good job, that's another thing. But vanity doesn't kick in until the next one, which says, oh, I'm a good person because of that.
Right. Hmm. Okay.
So are you, with the word, when you're describing it as vanity, is it
Hmm.
vanity or is it something else?
Uh, so, okay, let me go back to what I caught, which is I want to be seen as a good housekeeper,
Hmm.
someone. So, that's what I call vanity, because I
Right.
want to be
Okay.
seen
Yeah.
as a good person.
All right. Yeah.
I want
So,
praise.
okay, that's an interesting extra. I want
Yeah.
praise. Yeah.
So I'm
These
polishing the table so that they say, "Oh, wow, she really keeps the table well."
right. So in a let's have a fantasy of how would you think you would feel if they come and they visit and they go and they don't mention the table or anything. They don't even appear to notice that you put
Hmm.
any effort into it. It's
I would be
you
disappointed.
would you?
Yeah. And that bothers me.
That you would be disappointed bothers you.
Yeah.
Mm,
Because I lived for so long in a space where I wouldn't even notice it probably.
mm. Okay, so that brings up here the idea that there's something about a different Shaheen now to before, and that's what you want to be noticed.
Yeah.
It's not about the table, it's about the fact that you once wouldn't have bothered and now you do.
Yeah. Definitely. Yes. Yeah.
Mm. So if we were to say that we hope for some praise about a change that has happened in us,
Hmm.
what would that change be?
Right. What's coming up for me is these are my cousins
Yeah.
and who are going to be visiting. They've always been more affluent than I was growing up.
Mm.
So I always have lived in more humble homes than they have. And I think there is that I want some acknowledgement of I've I've made it in life, or
Right. Right. Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. How many of them are there? Three or four?
Five.
Five of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, in your imagining of getting recognition that you've made it, is it any one in particular of them that you would hope to get that from? What does one come to mind immediately?
No,
No.
no.
So you could imagine that you somehow accidentally eavesdrop on them discussing how wonderful you've turned out without you even being there, and that would be the ultimate in praise for you.
Mm.
That as a group,
Yeah.
they've come to this conclusion that yes, she's now one of us. Would that be going too far?
Uh, yes, yeah. I don't think I want to be one of them. No, no.
Worthy of being one of them, maybe.
Yeah. I think that, yeah, you hit it on the nail. Yeah. It's not wanting to be one of them, but worthy.
Yeah, yeah,
Equals
yeah.
now. Now we're equals. Hmm.
What if this fantasy that I have is that in the past they've left you with a certain distaste in your mouth about they feel superior in some way.
Hmm. So I know for a fact that that was in my head. Most of that was in my head. So so this particular set of cousins, I never they never ever did anything to make me feel that way.
Mm.
There were a couple of other cousins who did, but not this set, definitely not,
Mm, mm.
you know. But it got planted very early on, you know? So I always walked around feeling like the poorer cousin.
Yeah, yeah. Has this one occurred to you that to achieve what you're looking for, isn't well, it's going to apply continued pressure for you to maintain it for a start. And the the best outcome for this would be for that to be a non-issue for you rather than for you to get the idea of acceptance.
Absolutely.
Have
Absolutely.
you've had that recognition already?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And that recognition is what makes me uncomfortable. You know, the fact that, oh, I've done so much work and I've now this, why do I even have this, you know? In
Mm.
my years of spiritual and healing work, I thought I was free of it.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
it's good that this surfaces and I
yeah.
can
So,
see and I know for a fact that it means nothing.
mm, mm,
Getting the praise, not getting the praise
yeah, yeah.
means
But
nothing.
but what does mean something, it appears, is that that's what you see when you're honest with yourself, that
Mhm.
you want that. Yeah.
I'm still seeking that praise. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Can you see that it would be different if you were seeking it and consumed by it and not aware that you were seeking it? You were
Oh,
just
yes.
that. And then there is this where you are aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's quite a
Yeah.
different
That's the good news.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the good news that I can see it. And I can see it that it's pointless chasing that,
Yeah. And
seeking,
you can see the
seeking that.
judgment that you put on yourself.
Yes. And I can also see the judgment. I can also see myself, like, labeling myself as having gone backwards or, you know,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah,
see that
yeah,
too. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Let's kill that one for a moment. Yeah,
Okay.
the every experience you have changes you. It's not possible to undo any of
Mm,
those changes. You can't
mm,
actually go backwards. Right? What it just seems like maybe you've gone backwards, but it's not real. It's not actually backwards. What's more likely actually happening is that this situation has turned a potential into an actual. And that potential is a belief that you've picked up way, way back somewhere. You know, you picked that up as a
mm,
child. You picked it up as part of your family identity, right? That you were the poorer cousin, etc.
mm.
And somehow there is the something. I'm not quite sure what the right word is. But there is.
Uh, mm.
Yeah, go on.
When you use the word identity, I can energetically feel it's like bullseye.
Yep, yep,
I'm grappling with the identity.
yes. Yeah. That's huge, isn't it? That is so big, that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, this is a
yeah.
big one.
And you didn't create that identity in the last 10 minutes, did you? You didn't
Yeah.
create it when you heard them coming, that they were coming to visit. You didn't
It
create it.
surfaced.
Yeah, it goes
Yeah.
way, way back. Yeah,
I can physically, like, feeling it come up to be released.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. I love that. To be released. That's right. And that's why this is here now. That's why you're able to talk with me about it, because it's releasing as we examine it.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that you won't feel good if somebody comments on the table,
Mm.
you know. But it's no longer a vanity issue. It's an
Yeah.
identification issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
The vanity thing was just part of the old way of judging.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. It's almost like a physical, like, I want to let it go in my breath.
Mm, yeah.
Like a shackle,
Yeah.
I can see this identity as a shackle.
Yeah. And you can see some of it dissolving.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not so straightforward. You can see how there's Shaheen as an individual has a certain has developed a certain way of seeing herself. Let's call that identity. But then
Mm.
there's Shaheen as part of a family that was recognized in by themselves, if not others, as the poorer cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's identity that extends out to our whole society that we live in. And then
Yeah.
there's bigger, yeah, there's just no end to the identity inside the identity inside the identity.
Right.
Yeah.
It
But,
feels funny now already. It feels funny that I'd hold on to something like that.
hmm. It seems perfectly reasonable to me that those things will lay dormant and we don't even know about them until something triggers them. And
Yeah.
partly that's they get triggered because we've already removed a whole lot of filters that would have kept it hidden. And then circumstances went flip, here you go, work through this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful, isn't it? Just wonderful the way it works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Vince, thank you so much because just in this short conversation, I have, I started like, in the mist and fog of it. And now I can already, I'm already here where I can look at it and laugh at it. And I was like, oh, really? Look
Yeah.
at how I got caught up in that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absolutely
You
amazing.
know?
Beautiful. It is
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vince. Thank you.
Mm. Mm. How have you been, Tammy?
Hey Vince. Um, Good to see everyone and be here. I wrote down a few things to report. I think there's a lot of ups and downs. I think there have been some good moments where I was like surprised that I was calm. Um, like after I left a situation that would normally be riling up, and I was sat outside on a bench and was on a Zoom call, and I was just calm. And I was like, so there are moments like that. Um, or last night, late last night, my dinner spilled on the floor. I was a little cold and the tray was warm, so I put it on my lap, and then of course it burned me. And I'm like, that was stupid. And so I, got up and the whole thing fell on the floor. And as I was cleaning it, I started to go into, oh God, that was stupid. And then I'm like, no, 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 let's be positive. So I'm like, maybe there's deeper and I'm like, wait, do I need any of these stories? And then it was just quiet as I picked up the fish. And it
Yeah,
was just really, really
beautiful.
nice. Yeah, didn't need anything, not in that direction or that direction. So it was just little moments like that.
Was there a recognition of the change in attitude towards the circumstance?
Yeah, absolutely. It was like, first it was like, oh, well, you shouldn't. And then it was like, within a second, it was like, oh, let's switch that to positive.
Right.
And then I was going to go into getting all excited about how this is wonderful. And I was like, no, I don't need that either. And then it was just quiet and the fish was being cleaned. And it was just,
Yeah, great. Oh, I'm excited. That was wonderful. Yeah.
yeah.
And we don't need to know what was the process. We don't need to know how it came about. Just the fact that it did opens up a whole world for you. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I think I still try to figure out, what exactly so I can replicate. But
Yeah. Yeah. That's a trap, isn't it?
yeah, but yesterday that didn't happen. It was just like quiet. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, there's these quiet moments. It's so nice.
Yeah. Yeah. In a way, it can be like his life reminding us of the possibility, the practicality of peace, of being contented amidst all of that chaos that happened.
Yeah. And I neither have to scream at myself nor build it up into some like deep spiritual meaning moment. Like neither of them. It could just be quiet.
Yeah.
And I didn't, yeah, that has not been my experience. It's usually riled up either in the negative or the positive. So just
Mm.
quiet with zero, you had said you give meaning to everything. So I was like quiet with zero meaning. It was very nice.
Yeah.
But
Beautiful. Yeah.
um yeah, and some other things that I wanted to ask you were um just noticing that my mind is very repetitive in nature and there's nothing I can do about it. It just
No.
questions, attitudes that seem to me sometimes new. Sometimes it seems, oh, I've been thinking this since I'm 12 or 8. But sometimes it seems so new. But then, like, I just heard a recording and I was thinking the same thing 2 years ago. In other words, it seems like a revelation, but even that is like,
Yeah. Yeah.
or I'll tell my baby sister stuff and I'm like, listen, I had this new insight. She's like, yeah, not new. We've been through this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
I would go
wild.
with you. You know, she's going to take the same thing out of it, but yeah, it is new for you. Even though it might be seemingly repetitive, there's maybe a bit more depth to it or a bit more something, something is that makes it
Yeah.
feel new. And that's quite relevant. Yeah. But the amazing thing is that the nature of our thinking is very habitual. And so consequently, 80,000 thoughts a day and 70,000 are similar to what we had yesterday.
It's truly amazing because some of them again feel, ugh, there's that one again, and some of them feel truly new. And then she's like, no, we've been through this. But I think you are right. I think there is, maybe it feels differently or there's a slight something added or a
Mm.
different angle, but it's still amazing how it's like, oh wow. And it's like, no, you have this 1,000 times.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't know what to
Because
do about it.
well, there's nothing to do really, except that, you're just here you are in it. But one of the things that it highlights for me that's worth repeating is that by nature, confirmation bias plays a big part, and we look for things to confirm the way we see what's going on, the way we see life or circumstances. And so, very much it will be the case that you've only got to say a few words that trigger a memory for your sister, and she will then imagine the ending and then say, same stuff, we've been here before. Because for her, it is the same stuff. It's channeled into the same thing. No matter, she's not really hearing you. She's not really listening to you. She's only listening to her idea about what you're going to say.
Mm.
And this is very much the nature of everybody. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just something that happens. So, to appreciate that you can come up with this amazing insight and she'll see it as, oh, that old stuff again. is a
Hmm.
statement about her, not about you, not about what your insight. Yeah.
I just thought my mind must be crazy. It thinks it's new when it's old. I'm like, what is wrong with my mind? So I said, I'll ask Vince, but
No, so you in a way you can't have an old one. It's not possible to have an old one. It can be similar, but it's always fresh. Every
hmm.
time it turns up for you, it's a fresh version of it. And that
Yeah.
similar thing is part of the meaning we put on it.
Hmm.
So if you accept that everything that turns up is fresh, that changes the way you look at things a little bit. And you can look for in it something novel, something new, something unique, something of value. It's not
Hmm.
that you have to do that as a job, so to speak, but that can happen then. So don't believe her about old stuff, but believe that that's the way she sees things. That's what she's telling you. You can believe that.
Yeah, but it's so weird that my mind, it'll be like, wow, I had this insight and it feels different or new. And other people say I've said similar before. So it's or said it before many times. Or
Mm.
it I don't know, it made me think something is wrong with my mind. Like, how can it be
No,
surprised
definitely
again?
nothing's
Or
wrong. Yeah, yeah. Look, here's another reality for you that's a really big one, and that is with this waking up stuff. It's a private journey.
hmm.
It's an internal private journey in
Yeah.
that nobody else will ever see anything in you other than what they project, other than what they expect to see in you. Your experience of the world. Well, if I take it home, my experience of the world is so different to what it used to be. And yet, if you ask my wife, she'll say, "No, no, you're exactly the same."
Hmm. Before and
So
after your awakening, she sees you as
that's
exactly the
right.
same.
Yeah, she thinks this awakening thing's a joke,
Wow.
but that's the way she
Really?
sees things. And yet, I hear stuff coming out of her mouth quite frequently that I would go, hmm. If it was somebody in a group, I would say, that's a pretty awake thing to say, but I wouldn't dare say it with her because she'll just
Mm.
poo-poo it. Yeah. So, things happen and without us realizing all the time.
Hmm.
So now don't expect anybody ever to recognize you as an awake person. You could be sitting beside somebody who's awake and you would have no idea that they're awake unless you get into a certain kind of conversation with them. And then
Hmm.
maybe that realization might happen. But essentially, if you're sitting there and you're not talking, or if you're talking about the weather or what's going on in front of you, it's very unlikely you would recognize that they're awake.
Hmm.
And those who don a robe so that others will recognize they're awake are very likely not awake. but I not
Mm.
that's a bit of a generalization.
Mm.
It's not a very awake thing to imagine that you want everybody to recognize that you're awake. Well, having said that, I've been through it. Certainly, there was a time when I did want everybody to recognize that I was awake.
Because you wanted to like share where you're at.
Oh, well, it's more likely I was wanting to stroke my ego,
Mm.
but I don't really know.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was certainly a time where I wanted to share this with the world, and then that on several occasions attempting to do that did not have good outcome.
Mm.
So we've pretty quickly realised that no, you can only help people who actually want help.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess if what you're saying, I don't know. I guess about the repetitive nature, I guess when I realized like there are thoughts that I recognize as repetitive, and I guess just the ones that I don't recognize as having that they feel new, but they're not, I get where I just got worried about my brain. I was like, but all right, but you say it's okay because it's different flavors or it hit me
Ooh,
afresh or something. I just don't remember
yeah,
having it. In other words, that's what worries me. But
yeah. Well, that's the nature of being human too, isn't it? We often what we do think we remember is a reconstruction always, and it is rather interesting, that one. I mean, I'm frequently, almost daily, um, confronted by the fact that I can't remember somebody's name, even though I know it. It happens. Am I getting
yeah,
dementia? Well, maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe it's to do with awakening. I have no idea. It's just there. It is. That's just something to live with.
yeah. And then
That's
the
it.
other thing I want, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, and I turn it into a bit of a joke. But I'm not afraid these days to say I've forgotten your name.
Hmm. Yeah, with age, we get more bold about things.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great freedom, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so just questioning or noticing some beliefs and meetings, I find that I'm doing that a little bit more um, when I get very riled up about something, trying to see belief or meaning and stuff like that, and just looking at it, questioning. But then all of that is in one realm, and those quiet moments or lighter moments or more joyful moments are really, really nice. Um, I found myself also a little bit less scared to say things in front of my sister. So I hope it won't turn into anything like inappropriate. Like the other day I was there and she was in her room and I came in and I just started singing to the kids in like French. And I don't know French, but there was some song on. Anyway, they were laughing and we were all, it was a very light moment. And then a few minutes later, she came in and immediately like interrupted the show and started yelling at them. And I was like, oh, that's the end of that. Now we're going to start yelling or something like this. And I started running after the kids. Um, don't be children or something like this. I don't know what. Like I kind of made a joke about it and started running after them. But um, that's not good to start saying things like that. But so I'm a little worried about feeling less afraid or more free that I might whatever, but she didn't seem put off by
Yeah.
it. But
Well, there is a reasonable to accept that there's a learning period happening, and so we'll say things because we're a bit bolder, and then immediately learn a lesson the consequences of saying it like that or saying it at all means that it would have been better if it was different. So these days, for me, frequently I find myself with a thought that says, you don't need to say that out loud. So I just find being discreet comes more easily as well. But I do recognize that it took a little while for that to start happening. You know, that in the beginning I would say things. I used to say things just to get a reaction. And these days, frequently, that the idea to do that turns up, but it doesn't actually happen. So you'll learn what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, or what's
Yeah,
adaptable or not adaptable. Yeah.
it's more like I've been holding my tongue for 40 years. Like I've just been holding my tongue around behaviors with my mother and my sister and pretending we have to pretend like they're not doing this or that or not screaming. Like we're not allowed to say anything. I have to just go on smiling and being sweet. And now I just, and not acknowledging. It's so hard for me that no one admits it. It's like it's not happening. And that's been so hard for me as a kid. And I kind of
Mm,
want to say it out loud for the 2 and 4 year olds that are there. I'm like, oh, singing time is over. Now we're starting to yell. Like, I don't know. I just want to say it out loud. Like,
mm,
uh,
mm.
in other words, she doesn't get to just scream. Like, if you're going to scream, then I'm going to say, okay, it's scream time. Like, you don't get to do it without
Yeah.
it being stated. And I just feel like, I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe that will be okay. Maybe not. I don't know. It depends on a
Yeah,
lot of things, and maybe it'll be okay under certain circumstances.
exactly.
Your
Yeah.
sister, and on other circumstances, it's not okay. Or maybe you can have a variety of things that will say the same thing, and some are less confrontive. You know, or maybe it's you can just have a look that you give the kids. Maybe you wink at them or something when that happens, so that there's an
Yeah.
acknowledgement of the fact that the mood has changed. Um,
Yeah.
you know, they're all. It's a big learning thing, isn't it? That's what happens. We learn.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, oh, this is on one front of like confronting beliefs and seeing if I need to scream at myself and indecision and how my day will go. So, like before I was teaching choir the other day, often I'm like exhausted and don't want to move much before I go, or I'm just not feeling up to anything. And I'll even have to take a painkiller to go. And usually I spend the morning yelling at myself that I'm not being more productive before, but it doesn't matter. And I just end up leaving like almost late and like getting there like in a rush. This week I did the same thing, but I didn't scream at myself the whole time. So I still left, kind of late, had to get there. I got there on time, but like, I don't know. So just I'm happy that like it was interesting experiment because I thought, what would happen if I don't scream at myself? Will I then be more productive? And I wasn't. I was just
Mm.
happier. In other words, I
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
screaming at myself all morning, and it didn't change my behaviors much. I still left at the same time, and I thought, okay, maybe that's what my body needs to relax before I travel across town and teach.
Mm.
Um, but
I love that there's an element of experiment in it for you, that you're finding out things by actually experiencing different things. I think that's really, really positive stuff.
yeah, yeah, I've been trying. And then the last thing I wanted to say was all of this is on the front of like questioning beliefs. Let's try this, let's try that, emotions, internal talk, all of this. But then just in the back of my mind, there's still that thing about the shift in, is there a separate thing? Are there objects and all this kind of thing? But maybe
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
not.
it's
I don't
it's a
know.
bit yeah, it's a little bit soon to get involved in that one, you know. It'll
Okay.
come for you for sure. But those are things that are to be experienced, not really to
Mm-hmm.
talk about. You know, we can talk
Mm-hmm.
about them, but of course, that may or may not induce some kind of experience. But yes, those things, and when you do experience them, you'll recognize the futility of trying to describe. It's just so complex that it can't be put into words what's actually going on. So, you know, that
Yeah.
definitely don't worry about you. You know, you have in the back of your mind now that it's it's possible that there is nothing separate, and that will kind of stay there in the back of your mind until one day you will have an experience, and that will click. That experience you'll go, oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think right now I'm exploring different things. I'm exploring thoughts, emotions, beliefs,
Yeah,
this internal talk, trying different attitudes. Do I need to make decisions? What happens if I let things go, or, all of that kind of thing. But I'm
yeah,
not, occasionally, I'll read some of your material, or I'll hear something about, you know, are we separate, or, do we have a head? I'll look at
mm,
those things for a moment here or there, but I'm not aggressively pursuing it at this point, I would
yeah.
say.
Good, good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's
Is
no
that
point in that. Yeah.
there's no point in that right now because first I need to see through the thought stuff.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, it's not right to say there's a sequence, but it's kind of like that, that where
Mm-hmm.
there's some things are more in the road of than other things. So, there is no right order or straight line or anything like that. It will all fall into place as it does for you. That's fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever's happening
I
is
guess.
happening beautifully.
Yeah, I guess that's my question. In other words, is there value in what I'm doing, or should I push myself aggressively towards the other inquiry? You know what I mean?
Right. And so, what would Vince say to that? You know the answer, don't you?
I know you're a sweet guy, but I just like, am I wasting my time? Would that be better or faster or something?
Right. Yeah. Well, so there's another one for you to experience. Uh, your time? Is it you're not? Is it your time you're wasting or my time? No, no, you're wasting Jack's time. Whose time are you wasting?
Jack. Ah,
I can actually hear the voice of my nephew, who is now probably 32 years old or something, but he was about 6. And we were going somewhere, and I said to him, "Hey Joe, just take your time." And he came straight away. He came back at me, and he said, "Vince, where is my time?"
adorable.
And that was such a beautiful response. I just loved that, and I still have that
Mm,
memory. I can still hear him say it.
mm,
Yeah, it
mm.
was perfect.
Nice. Mm,
I guess he was having the idea that he'd have to find it and put it in his pocket or something.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah, this is such a wonderful experiment, this thing called life. It is full of wonder and beauty. It's wonderful. I haven't used that one for a long time, but I used to spell wonderful with 2 L's at the end. And
Mm,
it is full of wonder. It is absolutely beautiful.
mm. All right. So you think the kind of inquiries I'm doing is where I need to be right now?
Yeah, whatever is happening, inquiries and otherwise, it's perfect. I mean, you can
Mm.
just see that things are changing for you, so something's working.
Yes.
Isn't that
Yeah.
great?
Some things are
Yeah.
definitely shifting. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I hope. I hope it's not just the regular ups and downs, but yeah.
You can put hope in the same bag as time.
Mm,
Yeah. But yeah, I
yeah.
get it. I get what you say. That's a real feeling, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to delude myself or whatever. Like, I really want to have real progress. But
Well,
all
all I
right.
can say,
Any more homework
yeah.
then? You sorry?
Um, so the last time I told you to be on the lookout for giving meaning to things, how's that going for you?
Worked with a fish last night, but yeah.
Right. So I'd say keep on with that one until it kind of fades in the background, but it's still happening, if you know what I mean. keep on recognizing where your habitual thoughts, the nature of your thoughts, is to write a story of meaning on top of what actually happens. It's such a big one. If when you can change that habit, and that's not the primary response to things, it changes your life. Your whole life will be different.
So, in the moment, what that looks like is if I feel a surge of sadness or sorrow or anxiety or indecision or anything, I just say to myself, oh, this is what's passing through right now. In other words, what do I do?
Yeah, you look for, I mean, for a start, I would love you to be able to recognize that the fact that you use a label is the story of meaning that you're putting on things. So was that too obscure? If you've got a label for something, if you say this is dot dot dot, whatever that label is, that
Hmm.
label, when you look at it, has a whole story involved in it, and that will be a story of meaning. So how do you know? How do you know if you're feeling, I don't know, pick sadness as an example. How do you know if you're feeling sad?
Yeah, there's the sensations and then there's the thoughts.
Yeah, that's right. And it is the story of meaning that turns the sensation into one of sadness. The sensation itself doesn't have that, but the story that's added to the sensation is what gives it meaning. And then we come up with the label sadness. But before that label, there was just this feeling. It could be a feeling of emptiness, of missing, of non-familiarity, of or who knows. But then when we put a label on it, we shape it and give it meaning. So there's a clue for you. Anytime you use a label, look for the story that that label contains that gives it meaning.
I think I already have a lot of doubt or indecision around that. Like if my body feels a certain way, I don't know if it's like anxiety or I have COVID. In other words, like I don't know if I'm physically ill, if it's a thought. Like it's very hard for me to know. Am
Well,
I
you can't
hungry,
know, okay?
hungry?
So you can't know. You don't even, the idea that you can separate the two, right, is also not very accurate. And so if you've got a physical illness, you've also got a psychological aspect to it. If you've got a psychological aspect going, you've also got a physical aspect to that. So they're not separable. You can't pull them apart and say it's either this or that. It's never. It's always both. Right? But as soon as you use the word anxiety, right, you're giving meaning to the sensation. You're shaping the direction of your response to what's going on.
So like right now, I'm feeling a flow of something through my body. There's a
Yeah,
tightening
now
and then a
good,
swirling and a
good.
this and a that. And like, so what is
Yeah.
that? And what do I do?
Don't know, you don't need to come to an answer to what is that. The fact that you said I'm feeling a flow of something is beautiful. That is great because that is descriptive of your bodily experience. You're not giving it a meaning, you're not judging it, although that might also be happening in the background, but essentially you're not primarily saying it's this or that. You're saying, huh, I'm having this experience and it feels flowy, which is perfect, absolutely perfect. And if you stay with that, it might resolve into something or it might just dissipate altogether. Who knows? But essentially, you're not forcing it to be this label or that label or that label or something else.
Well, immediately the muscles started to clamp around it because either it's anxiety or it's illness. Either way, got to stop it. That's kind of what was
Yeah,
happening.
yeah,
Now I'm
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
letting it go, letting it flow. But yeah.
yeah. And what you'll find in reality is that the moment you do that, it'll change. Right? So it doesn't, you're not forcing it to become something. Whereas the moment you say, "Oh, I've got an illness," you're directing it into a something that it may or may not have gone there by itself. But without the label, the option is there. With the label, you got no choice. You're just forcing it down that narrow alleyway, or whatever metaphor you want to use.
Yeah. So that's where maybe positive thinking comes in. I don't know.
Well, that's the same thing. It's just an attempt to do it in a better way. Yeah.
So is that a value or it's better to not think anything or
Well, it's you're going to think what you're going to think. It's better to recognize your
yeah.
relationship to what it is you think. It's
Yeah.
not a case of not doing it. You can't control that kind of stuff anyway.
Yeah. And here's a weird question, and I don't know if you'll understand it or have an answer, but what is the relationship of being awake to muscle contraction? In other words, for me, immediately my body will tense up against all kinds of things to try and protect me from feeling things, from breathing things, from sensing things, whatever it is, whether I'm sick or anxious or there's, polluted smells in the air, the body will clamp up. Is it more awake if I try to like relax? In other words, if I was fully awake, would the body be completely relaxed and free in the face of everything?
No,
Or does it
no,
not have to
no.
do with it? Like,
Yeah, no. If you're, no matter how awake you are, you're still going to have a nose wrinkle to an unpleasant smell, if you know what I mean.
but like, my ribs and my arms like tensing or whatever, does
Yeah,
that
yeah,
not
yeah.
happen when you're awake or?
Of course it happens. Of course it happens. But it's a primary reaction to circumstances, essentially, and it doesn't spiral off into something bigger.
Hmm.
It doesn't end up being something that's created by a response to that initial thing. That's the difference.
But
So
what
when
about,
of course you're going to pull your hand off the hot plate if you find it
but
on there.
but more like if you have a bit of a pain in the body and the body kind of contracts around it to stop you from feeling it, does that not happen? Are you totally open to the flow of sensation in the body? Or is that individual?
I can't speak for others about that,
Yeah.
but I'm imagining that everybody will have their own version of that. Um, and and of course there'll be a level of contraction, but with it recognizing it as contraction and not applying a story of meaning to it, frequently, but maybe not all the time, but very, very frequently, it'll dissolve. You know, we're constantly faced with these little things that happen, and they most of the time they don't turn into anything big. They just happen.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, if I say to my wife, "Oh, I've got a bit of a headache," she'll immediately say, "Well, take a paracetamol," and I go, "Well, no, I'm not. It's not hurting enough for me to do that. If it hurt really badly, I would, but it's not." And so what I frequently find is that a couple of minutes later, I'll realize that it's not there anymore. It's gone. What happened? I don't know. But it never developed into something where I needed to take a painkiller. So the body's really active. It's amazing how things come and go all day, every day. And they turn up and they don't eventuate into anything.
But I guess in the face of that, is your body like fully open and like relaxed, or can it also get activated by its own sensations?
Of course it does. It can get activated by things, yeah.
Hmm.
I I would say that. I mean, it's you're looking you're looking for something here. Um, my experience for most of every day is that I'm totally unaware of the body. I'm totally unaware of anything. There is just what's happening, and I
Really?
don't even know what that happening is unless I try to describe it or define it. And even then,
Hmm.
I couldn't do a very good job. So no, so there's this weird experience where I say it's like I disappear.
Hmm.
I'm just not there. And as soon as I say that, it sounds weird. I don't know how to put it. Yeah, but I have no idea how it'll be for you to say. There's no point in you focusing on how
Hmm.
it is for me. Yeah.
I guess I'm just trying to wonder if like me tensing up against pain or the body bracing itself is me being unenlightened and if I should try to relax. But
No, it's not. It's just what's happening. So
yeah.
you don't need to put a judgment on it.
Okay. Yeah. That seems more sane. It's like, well, if my body tenses up and it's tensing up a
Yeah,
lot here, maybe go somewhere else or maybe something like rather than judge. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And there is value in you diving into what is the experience of the body tensing up. Where is it doing it? How is it? What does it feel like? What are the characteristics of what's going on? And usually, by the time you go a few steps into that, it's changed anyway.
Yeah.
All right, Tammy, thank you. I'm going to go and watch some television with my wife now.
Have fun. Thank you, Vince.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Jack.